Hey, so at official time of 6:02, we will call the meeting to order. And we'll begin with a roll call. And everyone, let's turn that off. I will take roll at this time. Veronica Ranieri.
Present.
Vicky Cook.
Here.
So Frank Gresham. Here. Dean Jaques. Here. Eric Belk, I am here. So our first item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Everyone in here on the board has had a chance to review the agenda. I will read it out loud for the benefit of those who haven't picked up a copy here. Of course, as the call to order, the adoption of the agenda, approval of minutes from the February 5 meeting. There'll be a statement from me, proposed documents for review, comment, and approval, which are the bylaws and mission statement. There'll be an open board discussion on a few issues. I don't believe there's any new business, but they could come up, and then adjournment. So, the agenda, I have motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Aye. And opposed, motion carries. Next up, approval of the minutes from February 5 of 2025. Has everyone on the board had an opportunity to review the minutes of that meeting?
Yes.
Yeah. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, subtractions from the minutes from the February 5th, 2025 meetings?
Nope.
Hearing none, I would like a motion then to accept the meeting minutes from the February 5, 2025 meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Now the brief statement I'd like to make is follow up to the statement that I made last time we were here. You may recall at our last meeting, I said we could continue to keep an open dialogue at our meetings, even outside of these meetings, in an informal context, provided folks could be respectful and communicate with a shared commitment to constructive and dignified dialogue. Unfortunately, at that same meeting, several individuals proved that they were incapable of having a respectful and dignified conversation with the board. The unfortunate result of that event is that, at least for the time being, I will not be opening up these meetings to public dialogue. I am hopeful that we will reach a point where that once again becomes feasible. For now, I would ask that you continue to submit any comments via email posted on the website, which is wclb@warrencountyva.gov. Don't forget the VA, or it's going to go into the ether and I'll never see us. And I did receive some comments. Some of them were constructive, some less so. They're all received in the spirit in which they were given. And the comments were just regarding the mission statement, and I think we've addressed those comments, so we will get to that when we cover the mission statement. Next, you will recall that this board has stated our commitment to full, open transparency. We said that at our inaugural meeting. I reiterated that commitment at our February 5th meeting. I will restate it again. We are committed to full transparency. We will not take any action that suggests otherwise. Now, in that regard, I invited Melody Hotek in her capacity as the president of the Samuels Library, Inc. Board of Trustees to attend our meeting tonight to answer questions we have about the budget, as well as the Board of Trustees' policies and processes. I also noted that in the event she could not attend, she could send one or more members of the Board of Trustees in her stead, provided they have authority to speak on behalf of the Board of Trustees. She declined the invitation due to a conflict. She said that they meaning the Board of Trustees, had a meeting. I asked her for a list of alternative dates, and she declined to provide any, stating that her potential alternate, the treasurer, is out of town. I then noted that her conflict, which was a library planning session meeting, ended at 6:30 p.m., and I offered to move the time of this meeting to accommodate her schedule. She declined, stating that her meeting might run long. She offered to answer questions in writing, but again, in the interest of maintaining a full and open transparency with both the Board of Trustees and with the public, I decline to do that. Our questions should be asked in public in this forum. They should be answered in public in this forum. Otherwise, it's just a show. I am again extending an invitation to Melody Hotek in her official capacity as president of Samuels Library, Inc. Board of Trustees to respond to questions our board members have regarding financial information and other documentation from the Board of Trustees. In the event she is unable to attend, she may appoint one or more members of the Board of Trustees with authority to speak on behalf of the Board of Trustees to attend in her stead. That's the same offer I made to her before. Mr. Moten is here, but he's not authorized to speak on behalf of the Board of Trustees. The meeting will take place, as of now, 6 p.m. right here in the Community Center on Wednesday, February 26, 2025. We'll now turn to the rest of our agenda for the evening. Although we may discuss some issues with the budget, we are going to hold substantial questions for Ms. Hotek or her appointee. With that, let's turn to the proposed documents for review, comment, and approval. First up on the agenda are the bylaws. Some of the comments that we received, including by email, were pertinent to this. So we have adopted some additional changes. Nothing extremely substantial to what we have had before. We added a few things to the bylaws to indicate, to make it match exactly what the enabling ordinance states. So there's no question regarding what the powers and duties are of this board. They match the ordinance word for word. There's nothing different about the budget disbursement and records. They match the ordinance word for word. It also notes under term of office, this is something we've missed before, that members shall be residents of Warren County, Virginia. That makes sense to add that. So of course, we all here are county residents, and all future board members will be county residents as well. There were just some other very minor Scribner's errors, essentially. One of the things we changed is that annually on or before the first day of December of each year, previously said February. Again, that was changed to make it align with the enabling ordinance. That's my presentation on the bylaws. Does anyone else want to add to that discussion?
Just for clarity's sake, when we're talking about the ordinance, we're talking about the ordinance that's established for the library board, which is considered Chapter 7 of the Warren County Code. So just clarifying that and talk about which ordinance we're referring to.
That is correct. Thank you, Dean. Mike, anything? No. All good?
Yep.
Okay, are there any other discussion, any other changes that have been recommended by the members of the board? At this time, I'll accept the motion to accept the proposed bylaws.
Motion to accept?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The bylaws are accepted. These will be posted on the site. Everything here tonight will be posted on the site, by the way. Let's see, meeting minutes. Next up is the mission statement. Again, there seemed to be some confusion over the term governance. Dean, you brought this up as well.
Yeah, I think part of the confusion and clarity that needs to be brought forth is that there seems to be a misunderstanding about how the use of governance is being used in our case when it's governance of fiscal issues, tax dollars. That's what the governance is for. There's been consistent pushback or feedback, I should say, not pushback, but feedback thinking that the board was going to be governing the Samuels Library staff, or as, you know, in terms of how they run the library. That's not what we're doing.
We're not going to tell them who to hire,
We're not
who to
going to
fire.
That's right. That's not what this board is about. This board is about governing and looking at the fiscal use of Warren County citizen taxpayer dollars. That's it.
It's very simple. In that regard, the major change that we made to the mission compared to the statement compared to what it read 2 weeks ago is the last sentence in the first paragraph we changed to read, "Our mission is to provide oversight of taxpayer funds allocated to the operation of the public library while fostering transparency, accountability, and efficiency in library services." Actually, it's one before that. We actually added consistent, that our governance will be consistent with those powers and duties set forth in Warren County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 7. So it makes it clear that our mission is key to the ordinance that enabled the creation of this board. So with that in mind, I've asked the board members, do we have any further questions or discussion regarding the mission statement? It's good. Okay, hearing none, I'll take a motion. I'll accept the motion for accepting the mission statement.
Move to accept the mission statement.
Second motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We now proceed to Part 6, the open board discussion. And at this point, I think, Vicky, may I turn this over to you?
To me.
Yes, we begin the discussion in this area.
Well, I guess with the open board discussion, I kind of want to turn our attention to the Samuels Libraries, Inc. budget request, fiscal year 26 budget request to the Board of Supervisors, because next week they will be coming to the board to present their budget requests. And since part of our mission as the library board is to review and assess the budgets for the use of taxpayer dollars to provide services, that I wanted just to take the opportunity to kind of go through these documents, at a high level.
Right.
So everyone has, I think we sent a copy to everybody, So I guess I'll just start with the explanation of all the documents. So to begin with, the Warren County Finance Department sends out a partner agency funding request form to all of the partnering agencies. In other words, all the third parties, 501c3s. And then what they do is they go through this form and answer the questions that the county actually the finance department asks to justify their next follow-on budget year, their requests. So anyway, but that's what this form is. So if we go through for Samuel's Library, so of course they have their mission, and then which they say, you can find their mission on their website. And the second question, it says, please provide the total clients, individuals served between July 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2024, and show a breakdown of clients, individuals, Warren, Frederick County, Shenandoah. So then they answer that question. So I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to read what they put in this, but if you have any questions, you can.
When you look at the library visits, right, 127,751, and then they show card holders. It looks like it's a total of 16,148 card holders that include all of these various counties. That's what am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. And so I guess one of the things that I was curious of is the individual the person, so card holders. So you look at the visits. So these number of visits obviously is these certain individuals going to the library more than once, right? So the total number of visits doesn't necessarily mean that's the number of people.
I can't answer that question. That would be a question that.
One of the questions I had as well was when they say, 16,000 cardholders under 27,000 visits, that doesn't necessarily mean the visits were from cardholders. They could have been from people just coming by to look. Could be, occasionally people walk into the library for no reason, not to check out a book or a movie.
Right.
Now, they have the stalls there that when you first walk in, but you're not if I'm not mistaken, you don't use your card to get into those stalls. You just walk in. So, okay.
People
So I
just walk in,
think
walk out.
one of the things that I'd like, maybe they have it on here, circulate, or the number of books being checked out and things like that, if there's a breakdown of that.
You know, they,
But there's not just that, obviously. They have their,
The
obviously they have their events and things like that people are coming to.
Right.
Yeah, which is great, which is what we want.
well, they came to the Board of Supervisors, I think 2 weeks ago, because they had to do their biannual progress report, right?
Right.
And in that presentation, they did break out the numbers.
They did. Okay, I didn't see that for
So I'll get that PowerPoint slide.
No, I mean, I saw the PowerPoint and I went through it, but I was just, because I think it was published on the website, right?
Yes.
Or maybe
I think so.
I just must have missed that part. Okay, no problem.
But anyway, but that is still, if there's still an outstanding question, I mean, that's something that, we can write down and,
Well, I mean,
Right.
my curiosity is how do we increase this number? How can we get more going into the library? Because if there's, only 16, we have a county that's about 40,000 people. I'd say the makeup of that county demographically would probably be about 25, 30,000 people who could be using the library. So
Why aren't they? Right.
yeah, why we could double that number. Let's figure out ways of doing that.
So you're pointing out a lot of good things, and so the problem that I have with this is just there's no context around it. They're just numbers. So when they say, for example, items checked out, that include digital, that include renewals. They count a renewal as a checkout every time it goes into a renewal. How about unused books? It is, in a sense, this is not every item in the library getting checked out 3 times each. Now, you're going to have some things being checked out 20 times, other things haven't been checked out in 10 years. So where's the appropriate cutoff to say, there's a lot of chaff here that needs to be winnowed? But again, no context around this makes it difficult to really get our arms around it.
Right.
Well, yeah, and my desire for context is to help improve the services and the number of visits, get more people into the library. Because obviously they have some, I constantly see their events, and I have family, that uses their events. So I want to, let's figure out why we can't get more in there. So that's part of that, and there's other things to think of with this, but the
Right.
biggest thing is we want to make sure that the library is being used to its fullest extent, and that the taxpayer dollars that are going to that library are benefiting the community as best they possibly can. That's what that's what we're here to do.
okay. Well, so if I could recommend, these, just to write down the questions that you have, and then, of course, Mr. Chairman can decide how we want to go with that to get answers. So, there's that was question number 2, and then we go into question number 3. Then we ask if they would explain measurable positive impacts of their services that they have in Warren County, and so they break out again the visits, the items checked out, everything that we were just talking about, and they do it by numbers. The next question that we ask is, please provide a brief description of services provided to Warren County, including program activities. So they go and they list all of their services, so that, I think that's easily understood. And
In that one of the things that was the computer access, internet accesses, one of the things I was looking for in here is a breakdown of the types of subscriptions that they actually have on that, so that they allow the community to use, and see if there's more that we can help with that in terms of subscriptions. It doesn't break that out that far. Our desk talks out.
no, this is very high-level summary. So, so then with the question number 5, it says, please share any ways that your agency is currently partnering with Warren County departments. So they talk about the story walk at the Eastman Park, and the activities that they partner with the sheriff department and fire and rescue. They do a reading, I don't know, a program where deputies, their fire and rescue staff read books to kids and things. So that's what that blanks there. So then the next question was, please describe how you're using Warren County funds. So to me, for this exercise is one of the things that I think we need to assess to make sure that our tax dollars are being efficiently used. So, so the first thing they have here is maintenance and utilities and supplies, and they explained that, the insurance. Again, we're just going through this as a very high level. That this is part of the process of the Board of Supervisors to make good decisions if they're appropriating the tax dollars, $1,024,000 at this point in time. And so then it goes down and describes how you're going to use the funds in the fiscal year. So all of these questions are descriptive, right? They don't quantify it at any day. So if you go to page 6 or 7, you'll see the financial information that they have. So, and again, the request is coming from Warren County to them. So we wanted to know last year in their revenues, fiscal year 24 and 25 year to date, to break down the revenues that they receive. So, so here they have for Warren County. They said that they received $512,000 in fiscal year 24, which I don't believe is, this is 24, 25. That's this year. So that's what they're going to, that's what that's saying. And of course, the projected was, of course, the $1,024,000. And then the last column here is for what they're requesting for the next year, which is which would have an increase of 16.5%. Then you go down to state and federal government. This is their state funding that they get. So for this fiscal year, they have projected that they're going to get $253,000, and next year they are showing a reduction down to $240,000. So
That is something I definitely wanted to ask about.
Yeah.
Why is the state funding going down?
yep.
Well, the other thing I had is I was curious as to why the 2024, 2025, I guess you're saying year to date. So are we saying that we haven't dispersed because under this document, we're showing that Warren County funding was $1,024,000 for fiscal year?
There, you looked at that.
Oh, okay, then that's a different breakout of what we're looking at.
Right, but why would this number be different from this number?
I don't know.
This right here is the Haffinger. That's so weird.
So they're only pushing it out for when they
Right, because-
provided this information. Okay,
You're-
because the Board of Supervisors, not we, but the Board of Supervisors disperses on a quarterly basis.
Right.
Okay.
And then keep in mind that this was due to the county in December.
Right, roger that. Okay.
Right, so
I just want to
make-
confirm that.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
So,
Another big thing on this page that really struck out to me is personnel increases by $266,000. That's more than a third year over year,
Yeah.
which there's really nothing here to justify that.
Right.
So,
Well,
think
I
that
was sort of-
discussion need-
right.
Well, I think a further discuss, I don't see anything to justify it.
Uh-huh.
So maybe Ms. Hotek or her treasurer or someone else from the Board of Trustees can help enlighten us.
right.
And you're talking
Well,
about from the 2024, 25 to 126, the increase in
the
salary.
increases, right, that's on page 7 of 7. Well, just so you know, that we do have a section, question 10, that they're supposed to clarify why they're increasing their budget. So there's this narrative here, which again is high level. It doesn't get to the nitty gritty, if you will. So so that's kind of what they're where the Warren County is asking for them to understand their revenue and that they receive that helps them operate the library. So then you move down to the expenditures, and it's the same format. And I was, Eric pointed out, for next year, their salaries increased almost $300,000. because they projected of 786 this year, and then it jumped it up to 1,052.
Right. That 266, 393.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. But it's more than a third, Joe.
Thanch you.
You clarify how much?
So anyway, moving on. So their total expenses that, is $1.5 million for next year. So anyway, so that's what this form does, okay? This is kind of like the foundation of the, of what I call the ask, if you will, okay? So just before we move on to the next document, I just wanted to let you know that, that we have level funded the library for about 3 years now, right? The $1,024,000. So this is the first year that they're asking for the 16% increase.
When you say level funded, that's not even including a inflationary piece? Okay.
Yes, so,
All right.
sorry, have they never requested an increase, or have you never, has the Board of Supervisors never granted?
We never approved an increase. And a lot of it was because of budgetary issues.
Oh, absolutely.
We didn't want to raise taxes. And of course, the board, at every fiscal year, the Board of Supervisors goes through an exercise of prioritizing tax dollars. Like this year, it's been public safety. So, so the revenue that we bring in, either we look at that and go, well, we need to, prioritize our public safety needs, so. And then again, to explain a little bit more with the library, they are, they're in a category of all the other partner agencies that we have, right? So we have a budget for all the 501c3s, so they're, and with that budget, they're 60% of that budget, and in that group of other partnering,
There's 60% of the budget for all the other partner agencies.
for just the partnering agencies, and that includes, House of Hope, the Phoenix Project.
So what we could term
Which
is
is-
discretionary spending.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you. That's perfect. So,
So we had your mandatory spending, which includes the fire departments, the sheriff's department,
Yep.
the school board,
Yep.
all that stuff.
Public-
And it's public works. So but these are, the library falls under the discretionary spending with other, types of.
exactly.
Okay.
And so we have to, balance all of that.
Roger.
Yeah. So anyway, so then the next document that we have is what is called the operating budget for fiscal year 26. That's this document here. And again, they go through what they did, what their actuals for fiscal year 23, their fiscal year 24, year-to-date for 25, and then what they're asking for in 26. So again, it breaks out in their revenue, their income, and then it breaks out the expenditures. So when you look at the expenditures, you have salaries and payroll items that has increased. The books have increased, the county maintenance, and that's something that I'd like to talk about. It's just to get everyone's opinion. Other operational expenses is a new line item. Office expenses increased, library technology decreased, and so forth. So,
Yeah, so, again, with some of these line items, there's gonna have to be, maybe not here at this discussion, but we have to break, what's an other operational expense? I'm not.
Right.
What is
So
it?
that's in this.
Many definitions.
Yeah, that's in this right
Oh, that
here.
here.
Yeah.
Break that further right.
Part of the it's part of this package, which is, they break it down by their expense, and I'm just, for a lack of a better word, a GLA numbers, so that's what this is. Now, I don't think we have anything that describes what they are, other than just the title. But, you can look up the title and kind of figure it out, so. Anyway, so going back to the operating budget, so they break it down in that, at the very beginning, at a high levels. And so then if you go into page 2, again, it breaks out the income, and then it breaks out their donation income with, who they You get the Warren County and state aid and this e-reimbursement, and then they break it out, the donations they get from Friends of Samuel's Library, funds that they get from children's program details, the story walk, etc. And then they break it down to miscellaneous income, which is all their fees that they collect from the copier and book sales, etc. So then, and then they also, following that, they document the funds transfer from their endowment investment fund to offset operational costs. So that's all there too. That's part of the analysis. So on the following page, it breaks it down any further. So you start with the salaries and payroll. So if you look at the total salaries, what they're asking for next year is $1,056,816. And then, and that goes back to what they recorded here on our request form. So you have expenditures for personnel is $1,052,816. And so here that it breaks it down a little bit more of what that includes. You know, if it includes, let's see here. So that number on our form includes Social Security, unemployment, medical and dental, travel memberships, development expenses, and retirement funding. You know, so we have to, decide. That's tax dollars are going for those that they are putting together as their salary expenditures.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, from any contractual relationship that you have, that's not unusual. Here, they're breaking it down in this bit, but in other contracts, they're going to bid. When you send out an RFP, they're going to come back with a bid and say, okay, for this person with this skill set, we're going to charge you $50 an hour. And then, of course, that $50 an hour is going to include what their salary is going to be, that person's salary, and what their PTO might be, what their cost would be for health insurance, that kind of stuff. So that they're just breaking it out in different manners.
Right.
So
I've never received a basis of estimate for their proposal, which.
Well, yeah, because that's one of the things that, we've talked about in terms of the contractual method on how we're working with the library, MOA versus a, specific formatted contract.
Exactly.
And how you ask for that from a request for proposal. And you get people to bid and say, okay, this is where our bid is, and you have a competition that way. Now, I'm not saying that's what we need to do or anything. I'm just saying that when you do it that way, though, you get a good idea of exactly how you're paying for something, because they're going to build it into that, and they're doing it here too. They're just doing it different.
In a different format, exactly. And and like I said, then if any of these numbers, we just ask questions, and that's what the budget hearing is about next week for the Board of Supervisors, because they'll come and they'll present these numbers, and that gives the Board of Supervisors the opportunity to ask these kind of questions, and that's when they answer it.
The difference between something like this and something like what I was describing is the ability to negotiate and say, well, okay, but we think from a client perspective, government perspective, that position only needs to have a $35 an hour charge versus $50 an hour charge. That's so when you put those RFPs out and stuff, here they're telling you this is what we want, okay?
Exactly.
And I'm like, okay, well, but how do you negotiate until you understand what each position is and what that value is? And you're looking across the scheme of like types of positions. So
Yep.
in my world, as on the engineering side, you have really good engineers and you have maybe not so good engineers, and they're all going to be differently priced, and that's how you work it.
Correct.
So
Right.
Hey.
So to look at these numbers and to break it down to that level, we've never had we've never looked at it in that sense, and that's kind of why we're here.
So there is and going back to what my comment on the partner agency funding request form, glaring error on here. Their personnel costs were not 786. That was just the salary costs. according to this, the full cost. So that's an error that they made on this sheet.
Good catch. Okay. So anyway, so that, this breakout comes along with what I call backup to the form. And so the next report that they provide was what I call a further breakdown of the summary level of this document, it correlates to a GLA, I guess, see, and you can go through from fiscal year 24, you know. This is just for the budget and actuals for fiscal year 24. This really, I think it's just backup data of how they broke out this fiscal year. So it doesn't go into any further of 26.
This to me looks like it's, you know, it's a tax-based ledger form.
Yeah.
Where they're accounting, it's an accounting setup that a CPA would use.
Right.
So
So that's what that's all presented. So then the next document they present that came with their package, they're calling the cash outlay here. And the cash outlay is where the library, per the request of the Board of Supervisors, wanted to know where the tax dollars are going. How are they being spent? Because this is all rolled up. It's you know, it's consolidated. So this is their sheet that said for fiscal year 24, last year, the $1,024,000. This is how they broke it out. This is where the tax dollars went to. All right, so they broke that out as a request, and then they also took a step further and they did it for the state, which was very, you know, it was good to see, and of course they have their notes to it. But the thing I want to point out is that we don't have them for 25 and we don't have them for 26 for this fiscal year 26. So that's something that
the question is their plan to continue to let's just say, for the sake of argument in this discussion, that we work under the current MOA. Is their plan to keep the actual score of the Warren County funding to be the exact same thing for insurance and office equipment maintenance, office expense, that kind of stuff?
Right.
Or would they move that around?
Yeah, I don't know. Then that's something they need to, we need to see, because, and like I said, going back to these other documents, it's all, it's commingled. The numbers. Right.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair.
So when you're looking at, if I'm looking at fiscal year 25 and 26, and they're asking for 16.5% more, when I look over here with this sheet, the cash outlay sheet, I would think that I'd have a column here of saying, okay, for fiscal year 24, this is where the tax dollars are being allocated to,
Yeah, it makes sense that they project it out. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm looking at this and I just made the assumption that they're going to use the same line items and continue on. They'll just increase the numbers, assuming the Board of Supervisors provides additional funding.
Right.
The question I have about this, Doctor, is that based upon my reading of the other documents, they have an account. Income goes into an account. It's commingled. It's fungible. So is this a document simply just created after the fact to justify where the money was spent? Or was this something they actually go through and say, okay, we're not going to spend more than X dollars in this category from Warren County funds?
Right. I can't answer that question, but I know where you're going with it, and you're talking about, from in the government. I know we're all kind of, our skill sets are coming from those experiences. And, when you have two, what I call different colors of money, right? So here I look at this as different colors of money. You have money for the state, and you have money for the Warren County and donations, et cetera, right, And so when you're dispersing or buying things, you always have a little code. saying, well, this is being pulled out of this fund and this is being pulled out of that fund. I don't know if that's how this report
Well,
was generated.
again, that's why I'm saying under an MOA versus, and we can even do it under an MOA, but most contractual things are very specific in how they dictate where the dollars are going. On a federal contract, you're going to say, okay, this is going to salaries, because that's what we're paying for. We're paying for that body to come in and provide services. We'll give you this much for travel. They don't include it in salaries. It's separate for travel.
Exactly.
We'll give you this much for equipment, if you need equipment, or if you're gonna use government equipment, then you don't get anything, right? Stuff, and they break it down that way. And so when the money gets dispersed and the contracting officer's technical representative is ensuring, between the client and the contractor that the money is being dispersed in the right bin, right?
Correct.
Now it's coming out of the government money in the right bin, and it should be going into their right bin. So technically, they're not supposed to be putting it into, you can't use salaries to buy equipment.
Correct.
Can't do that.
Correct.
So, but because the MOA doesn't state that,
Exactly.
we don't break it down that way.
Correct.
So, do we need to break it down that way? I guess those are discussions we need to have.
That we need to have. That we need to have. So anyway, so then also part of the package that's being asked by all our partner agencies. This is not just unique to Samuels. All the other partner agencies are required to provide this type of information. They give us their last year's 990 form. This is the IRS form that they file for their corporation.
Well, that's a 501c3 framework, correct?
Yeah, right. So anyway, these are just the numbers, what they report. And it's just kind of a check and balance. I use it as a check and balance, and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of good information here, how they break it out, and who they are, and that kind of thing. And then another part of this package is they provide their financial report for June, the end of the year.
You talked about the audit.
That audit, right. So they provide that, and there's a lot of things, I've always kind of looked at it. I look at I'm a bottom line kind of person now, so I kind of look at the bottom line. And, there was if you look on page 3, where they show their assets versus, you may see, or not page 3, I'm sorry. Let's see, where's the one? It's page 4, where they show the revenues, everything that they've received, from the county to the state aid, down to their fundraising, whatever Friends of Samuels Library gives them. And then you look at the expenses, which is all the things that we just talked about. And then they have the change in net assets and, so of course, you do the math, you take your revenue, subtract your expenses, and then there's the money that's left over. Those monies just roll back, the way I understand it, and this is a question that we need to ask. The way I understand it, just rolls right back into their endowment fund, and then we start the new year all over again. So
You mean and that's a question I had with this is, is their endowment fund considered their reserve fund, or is there a separate reserve fund then? Because
I don't feel comfortable answering that question because I don't know the answer to that.
Well, maybe that's one of the questions that you would have for
Exactly.
this hotel.
Exactly. So anyway, so I just wanted to bring that point out that any change or any net assets, that this rolls into their endowment fund, and then the next fiscal year, it just starts all over again. So anyway, so this is a very good, it talks about, what they do, where the money, and it's an audit report, no different than what Warren County has to do for the state of Virginia, right? We also have a requirement to do an audit report that we have to report how we are spending tax dollars to external agencies.
And we're using the same audit company
Yeah.
too, all right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so, no. So I just, you know, every 501c3, you know, it has to do an audit, you know, so so this is an audit that was that's a third party that reviewed Samuel Library Inc.'s financial documents. And so we have to take another step higher of the Warren County doing the same thing. So anyway, so that's part of the package.
Just real quick, unrelated to that, one thing that I want to investigate a little bit is I saw somewhere that the audit company told them that the price of being audited is going to increase 25% this next year. And I think, well, can't you choose somebody else then? Why
Well, yeah,
are you
and-
locked in
and that gets-
continuing to use them?
Exactly, and I think in the form.
They have that under expenses for the
yeah.
taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, for taxpayer dollars, pay for their audit.
This is where, you know, in here you see they have it on that one, the audit thing, they talk about, you know, funding without restrictions, donor money without restrictions and donor money with restrictions. It was interesting under the Virginia state aid to have it without restrictions, but Virginia has rules, the state has rules under how you can do that, so that's technically with restrictions. But we don't have that, and it's not in the MOA. And so those are the kinds of things that we have to discuss, because can we work with the library and help them save money in certain areas by maybe finding a different audit company that's not going to cost you 25%, so then you can take that money and use it for something else, like, you know, something that's, you know, beneficial to the community. So why do we want to waste money on, you know, the audit if we don't have to do it?
Right.
You know, if we can find
Well,
something.
find someone-
So, as good, though, you don't want something.
You definitely have to do an audit. It's over 50.
Well, no, you have to do an audit. I'm not, but I'm saying you need to find a good auditor too. You can't find somebody who's going to be, you know, bottom basement.
Yeah.
So, but 25%, you know,
Yeah.
that's that's a huge increase. Right. They must be hiring a lot of, you know, high-end people now.
I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, so this is the package that is delivered to us, okay? Now, one thing I would like to get your thoughts on is part of the budget they're asking to pay for some maintenance cost, which they've never done that before. And a lot of that is dues that, I guess there was this agreement in 2017 that said that the county would pick up maintenance costs, but that expired in 2021. And so now we have the MOA that doesn't address it. But there is a lease agreement that was made back in 2008 that says that the tenant is responsible for, you know, exterior renovation and interior.
And this is the lease agreement between
The county.
the county, the Board of Supervisors county, and
Samuel's.
the Sandals.
Right, right. So I would ask if you take some time to read this, you know, and see how we interpret it and how it rolls into their ask for maintenance costs, you know. So that I think that would be
What year again was that? 2000?
2008. Yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of what I wanted just to bring to the library, you know, to the board here to look at these documents. You know, the budget hearing is next Tuesday. And if you have any questions about any of this, you know, I would ask those questions at those meetings, because the budget hearings is only between the parties presenting the budget request and the board of supervisors. There's no public comment. There's no questions. You are invited, though.
Sure.
You know, to come in and sit in the audience just like everyone else. But so if you just, like I said, go through these documents, have your questions, you know, and we'll start the process, you know, because part of our charter is to make these type of recommendations for the Board of Supervisors. So,
Thank you.
but that's all, you know, it's just like any other budget process.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, this is a lot easier. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
because some of the budget processes at the national level are just.
Oh, tell me about it. So anyway, but that's all I have. Thank you for letting me bring this up.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything to discuss during this session? No? Good. Is there any new business that we need to bring up?
I don't think so.
Very good. Then
If I ask.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put you on. No. You had a tour.
I did. If you'd like me to teach.
The tour.
So yeah,
Very input on that.
So I was able to, on the snow day last week, meet with Melody Hotek, Eileen Grady, and Aaron Rumi. And we ended up talking for an hour and 45 minutes or something. It was just a really, really wonderful conversation about just some of the details about the library works, like how many staff do they have, and full-time versus part-time, and how they had managed this is my big thing, because at my work firm, in the middle of migrating from one system to another. So they were able to describe how they had just gone through that ordeal just a couple of years ago, and they managed to set it all up so that, if I remember correctly, they only had to have the library closed for one day, and just because they planned it to happen over a weekend, and the migration was done, and then they had the contractor on hand for the first open day after that, just in case anything was not working right as they went live, and they sailed right through, did it beautifully. So that was really impressive. And I confess, I also took advantage of this. They have some sort of program going right now where they're collecting craft supplies, and in March they'll have craft. Sorry, craft supplies, and I love cross stitching and crocheting. So they're collecting supplies, and then in March there will be an exchange. So if you bring something to be part of the exchange, they give you a little coupon, so you can be one of the first people to come and pick out other things to go.
Tons of stuff from our homeschooling. Now my kids are out of college.
Oh, there you go.
Need to grab all that stuff.
So I was able to
Some of our craft stuff I used. Tired. Take it there.
and took a peek at the Studio 330?
3:30.
Studio 330, and just the industrial sewing machine they have there. Somebody donated. It was
Industrial embroidery machine, dude. Really nice.
The embroidery or so, I mean both.
Both.
probably both. Yeah.
And they have a Cricut machine that's a 24 inches wide?
Yeah.
4 inches wide, something. And can print as long as you have a roll, which is really, I took the tour of Studio 330, and it's really neat.
It really.
I'm definitely going to be using it.
Printing machine? Or the printing machine? Or
Well, probably the laser engraving. All the laser engraving. It's really nice. It's a great.
It was a really great visit, and I was just really grateful to be able to meet each of them in person too. I hadn't had the chance before then.
Great. I hope we could to continue that relationship.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So,
Okay. With no new business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, sir.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?